What kind of work do you do?
I started working at Menchie's.
Here we go. Well, I think we have started. Hi, Zaylie.
Good morning, Jamie. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Happy Friday.
Friday.
Hi, everyone. You are in the weekly wrap up, and we are joined this month for Women's History Month with Zaylie Armijo. Zaylie, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, before we get into what our weekly wrap up is usually about, which is our legislative updates, what's happening in district, um, you know, Zaylie, you're 17.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Denver East High School just experienced a second shooting in a month. I know you're homeschooled, right? You go to school at home. Um, but I can't help but ask, um, kind of how is this conversation coming up? How are these scary issues coming up among you and your family or you and your friends? How do you talk about this?
The conversation, like you said, it does get brought up, and a lot of the time it's brought up in a sense of fear, in the tone of fear. Like when I do talk to my friends, me and my best friend recently had a conversation last night about the shooting, and we were talking, and it was like this is like the reason why I'm homeschooled, because at
Mhm.
our old school we did have a situation with a kid bringing a gun to school, and that was very scary. And it's like you got to put yourself in the shoes of what if you were in that situation, and you have your friends who you care about, there's kids you care about, and it's always addressed in fear and like how could we prevented this, was there a way it could have been prevented, and just really it's just like almost a loss you feel when school shootings are addressed.
I remember seeing at some of the news interviews with students afterward, and they seemed a little numb to it. Is this something that just feels normal to you all?
Yeah, most definitely. After you reach high school, it's such a normal thing to have a procedure when it has come to gun violence on, okay, if there is a shooter in school, this is what we have to do. If we do get, those calls, those threats, this is what's going to happen with the school. And, it's not an abnormal thing to hear like, oh, there's a shooter in the school. There was or a possibility that there could be a shooter in the school. That was something that was like, okay, great. Here's this again. Are we gonna make it out or not? It's very scary.
Definitely. And do you feel like whether it's at in your in your in your family and your community, like what are those places where you feel safe?
It's, I would say, besides my home, I really don't. Even when I go to the store, I don't like to go to the store by myself. I always either go with my sister or my mom or like my dad, because there's always that possibility of even just going to the store, something can happen. So it's very hard to feel safe. But you kind of try to do your best to go out and kind of be like, okay, I'll be okay this time.
Yeah. It's a real struggle that your generation has to feel that way, that, adults have to worry about our kids, our neighbors' kids, in every space that we're going into. I know we're gonna start to hear more about what our response is, if there are laws, if there are new regulations, if those help, and, do you think, young people, excuse me, your age wanna be a part of those conversations, or do you think what do you think about that?
I think it's always like a 50-50 chance. There are kids like myself who are very, they want to make a change in what is happening, right? Especially right now with the gun violence. And so I believe, there are kids my age who want to make a difference, who are want to speak up. And then I think there's also the other 50 that just kind of like, okay, accepting it, this is what it's going to be, whatever. And so I feel like if we can get more kids my age involved and more excited about making that change, a lot more people will be like, okay, so we don't have to just accept what it is, we can actually make it different and make a better change.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Zaylie, for sharing a
Of
little bit, and, hopefully, we'll be able to continue this conversation, with other districts, other parts of the city, with kids your age. You're experiencing it firsthand, so thank you so much, Zaylie.
course, thank you.
Um, well, Thank you, folks, for indulging me in a little bit of that conversation with Zaylie. It's a unique opportunity that we have on Fridays with Zaylie. So just wanted to hear her thoughts on some things. Um, I've got a few things that I wanted to mention that happened this week in council. The first is that we acknowledged through proclamation Cesar Chavez Day, which is this coming Monday. So it's an official city holiday, and we will. So city offices will be closed. We presented a proclamation to the leadership of the Chavez Peace and Justice Committee, and they organize an annual mass and march. And so I wanted to make sure folks were invited to that. That will be on Saturday, April 1st. It starts at Regis University. It steps off at 10 in the morning with Grupo Tlaloc, our Mexica Aztec dancers. And so everyone is invited to that. It is a really powerful day to think about not just Cesar Chavez, but Dolores Huerta and United Farm Workers and the ground they paved, I think, for so many generations after them. Um, Two things that I wanted to mention. So I know we're surrounded by conversation about housing and affordable housing, and this is just an example of how we are building it in District 3. Council approved $12.5 million to help build a 60-unit apartment project. This will be at Second and Federal, and it will be permanent supportive housing for St. Francis Center to run. It is their property. Right now, there's a safe outdoor space on it, but that's moving off soon so that they can start construction. It's a 60 units for people coming out of homelessness. So we are building housing. We are trying to make sure folks have a door, a roof, a place to live. To help them get on their feet. Another project, we approved a $5.5 million loan to Shanahan Development to build another affordable housing development. This one will be 190 units on 13th Avenue in Loma Lincoln Park. So this is the former location of Sabio House. This is just this week. So on a regular basis, we were approving funding for projects to come through in Council District 3 for deeply affordable housing. So I don't want that to get lost as we have these conversations about what we're building and for whom. Um, so we have a few really great community updates. I'm so excited. We are in the home stretch for the West Area Plan. It's coming to City Council on Tuesday because of the Monday holiday. Tuesday is our City Council meeting at 5:30, and this plan breaks such great ground, laying out the vision to guide West Denver's growth, city decision making over the next 20 years, and while helping residents and local businesses really try to stay in the neighborhood.
And how long has that been going on for, Jamie?
So developing the plan, it really started in 2019, almost right after I came into office. So it's been 3.5 years that community's been working on this. That's longer than it normally takes. Of course, we experienced a pandemic and nobody could get together. But over that 3.5 years, residents, business owners, community leaders, and city staff from community planning and development, um, we're finally in a place to take this to council. And I want to thank Councilwoman Sandoval and Councilman Clark because right now, all three of us represent these neighborhoods. In July, they will all become part of District 3. So I can't thank them enough for their support in helping us make sure we got to this point and that these neighborhoods will have hopefully a plan to look at and really implement after Tuesday. Okay, so for Women's History Month, the city's Certifiably Green Denver program, they are providing funding to help minority and women-owned businesses become more sustainable. So you get an upfront grant of up to $10,000. And businesses can look at projects like energy efficiency projects, water conservation, sustainable transportation projects, up to $10,000, and it's an upfront grant. It's not a loan; you don't have to pay it back. The application for funding for 2023 is open right now. So they distributed the last time over $300,000 in grants. So please don't wait in submitting your grant. You probably qualify.
That's awesome. They're supporting like the women-owned businesses. That's great. love
I
that.
know, I know. I think about, like, Cultura Craft Chocolate and, just so many really wonderful women-owned businesses in Council District 3, our Tron Gifts and Far East Center, so shout out to Mimi and Damaris, and you know what, Zaylie? We've got something amazing coming up. Do you eat pozole, Zaylie?
I love pozole.
Is your pozole green or red?
Oh, mine's red, but we eat
Red.
vegan pozole, and oh my gosh, it's so good.
So the third annual Festival de Pozole is coming back to Westwood, to the Rise Westwood campus tonight and tomorrow. So it's your chance to try some pozole from 20 different vendors. If you can't make it tonight or tomorrow, many of these chefs are offering a to-go option, so you can pick it up on Sunday. So get your tickets online. It's a ticket per sample, so you can get a bundle of them and you try as many as you want. They do get filling. Like you think a little tiny cup of pozole isn't much, but you could probably only get through about 5 or 6 of them. But get your tickets online when you get there. Some people can. My husband can probably eat much more.
Oh my gosh.
So get your tickets online. Just stop by, purchase on site. Tonight it starts at 5:30. Tomorrow it starts at 11.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, and I've I'm not a chef, so this is where I get to really explore how creative some of our local chefs, and then they have professional chefs. Both are there with their favorite recipes. So I hope we can make it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice. And then just a huge shout out to my team, my District 3 team, Angelina, who helps us with the weekly wrap up every week, Ian, who is on my policy, and Daisy Rocha Vasquez, who is the brain and the oil of our whole operation. Shout out to the women on my team as we are almost wrapping up Women's History Month. We're an all women D3 team, but not for too much longer. We are welcoming a new aide, and his name is Jesus, and he will start in April. So I look forward to introducing everyone to Jesus soon.
Awesome. Yeah, shout out to the D3 women and how just strong they've built the community and just how everything they just flow so flawlessly.
Thank you so much, Zaylie. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Zaylie, thank you for your raw and authentic insight, both on what's happening in our community. It's both scary and rejuvenating. So I really appreciate all that you bring to our weekly wrap up. Thank you, Zaylie.
Of course, thank you so much for having me this opportunity.
All right. Have a good weekend.